Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I thought that today I would do a little what I read in August/September. I know it's the middle of October, but we're gonna still do this video anyways. I have my iPad right here with me, and it basically has all the notes of the books that I have read. 3 of them were online, so I will just insert the book cover right here. Okay, so the first book that I read in August, this was like before school started. It was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I'm going to tell you guys my review on what I wrote on Goodreads, and then I'll tell you my opinion later on. I did read these books a long time ago. My memory is not as good. Like, I don't remember the exact things in the book. Okay, anyways, my review was not as good as I expected it to be. Ending was def a plot twist. I think that TikTok kind of hyped this book up a little too much. Like, it was a good book, don't get me wrong, but I just felt that it wasn't that good compared to like how much hype it got on TikTok. It's about this girl named Andy Bell who was murdered by this guy named Sal. But then the main character, Pippa, has a school project and she decides to do it on this murder. And basically she just investigates the murder with Sal's brother. Sal is the guy that killed Andy. So that's the first book. I don't really read YA mysteries. The only other mystery that I have read is like the one with Simon. What is that one called again? Oh yeah, The One of Us is Lying. I read that one. That was like the only other like mystery that I read. The next book I read was The Vanishing Half. I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Honestly, if I could go back and rate it, I would probably rate it a 4 out of 5 because the book was actually really good. My review was that okay, the book wasn't that bad in any means, it just wasn't my cup of tea, slow paced, and didn't really connect with the characters. So if you know me, when I read books, I like to connect with the characters. I think it makes the book like so much more like emotional when like stuff happens. Like I said earlier, I probably would go back and rate this a 4 out of 5 stars because honestly it was a really good idea. The concept was so good, and I think I was just like in a reading slump at the time, so it didn't seem like it was that good. But it's basically about these two twins, Stella and Desiree, and they leave their hometown and eventually they're like separated. And because they're separated, one decides to go as white passing, so like basically trying to look like a white person and like act like white people, and then the other one stays as a black person. So then they like live their separate lives and eventually they like find each other, and it takes you on the whole journey, and it involves like 3 generations of their line or whatever. Honestly, I would recommend it. It's a really good book, and I'm definitely gonna do some book reports on that in English class. The next book was The Midnight Library. This was like the Goodreads 2020 like book of the year or something like that, so my expectations were high. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and my review was the book was boring at the beginning, but I actually liked it a lot. I would give it a 4.5 stars if that was an option. So it's basically about this girl who dies. That isn't a spoiler, but she like commits suicide, and she's put in this like a limbo state, which is a library, and all of the books show a different pathway of her life if she had made different decisions. So it's like the synopsis is like really interesting. So, you know, I was really excited to read this book. It's a really short read. It will get you out of a reading slump. It's quick paced. To me, it just didn't feel like a 5 out of 5 stars. I would actually recommend this book. It's a really good book, and I think it has a good life lesson. Next, I read the whole Grishaverse, okay, except Six of Crows, because I read Six of Crows like 2 months ago. So let me explain how I read the Grishaverse books. This is like weird. Basically, I got Six of Crows first. Like, that's the first Grishaverse book that I had ever bought. So I read that book and I was like, wow, this book is so good. Like, this is probably the best book that I have read this whole year, right? And so I was like, Six of Crows is only a duology, so once I read Crooked Kingdom, I'm like done. So I was like, what am I going to do after I finish Six of Crows? So then I read Six of Crows, the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and then I read Crooked Kingdom. Because I didn't want to read Crooked Kingdom before because it would be over, and I didn't want it to be over, so I like prolonged it as long as possible. I actually have those books with me. Anyways, so I didn't read Six of Crows in these 2 months. I read Six of Crows like in June. And then I read Shadow and Bone, then Siege of Storm, then Rune and Rising, and then I read Crooked Kingdom. And this was all in the span of like 4 weeks. That's what I was doing. I gave Shadow and Bone a 4 out of 5, and my review was that the romance was not super good and it felt sudden and not something that was built over time. I felt this way with like Mal and Alina. Also, I found it weird that like Alina and Mal like didn't know that much about each other before the book, even though they had like known each other their whole lives. See, I'm not gonna review each individual book because that would give a spoiler for the previous book, but the synopsis for Shadow and Bone is it's set in a Grishaverse and it's like another magical universe. This girl Alina doesn't realize that she has magical powers, and her powers is what makes her really valuable. And basically people are fighting over her because they want her and they need her to do stuff. So yeah, that's my spoiler-free synopsis. And basically all these books continue off of that. I rated Shadow and Bone a 4 out of 5. I believe Siege and Storm, I rated this a 5 out of 5. And then Moon and Rising was also a 5 out of 5. These two books were really good. The plot, just everything was so good. I would recommend reading this book, this series, before Six of Crows, just because this series will never compete with this series. But I did really love the Shadow and Bone books. They will always have a place in my heart. I guess I will show you guys my annotations because these are like the books that I annotated. So as you can see, there progressively gets more and more annotations per book. I have a system of annotations, but I will not explain that in this video. I also included some school related books that I read in here just because taking AP Lit and we read a lot of books, and those are what I read in August and September. So Fences by August Wilson, I rated this a 4 out of 5. It was pretty interesting. I'm not gonna like explain it because they're school books and it's not what I normally would read. Pretty interesting, and is a quick read because it is a play. It's not like a book, it's a play. And then the second book that I read for school was The Doll's House, which I rated a 4 out of 5. Had a good life lesson. It's also a play. Not gonna lie, I didn't read all of it, so you couldn't really ask me on the synopsis, but I did read like 90% of it. It's not like I didn't read any of it, I just didn't read the complete book. So then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney, I think it is, and I rated this book a 2 out of 5. This is like some people's comfort books, and I like understand that, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. It just, I don't know, like I get the concept of how it was supposed to be, like it's supposed to depict like a real relationship, like the most realistic depiction ever, but I just didn't like it, and to be honest, I didn't finish it. And it was just sitting on my Goodreads on like mark updated progress, and I was like, I'm never gonna read this book, I'm never gonna finish it, and it's just gonna sit there and it's gonna bother me, so I'm just gonna mark it as read and give it a 2 out of 5 stars. So, and it did put me in a reading slump, I will say that. And the last book that I read in August/September was Crooked Kingdom. If you have read Crooked Kingdom, you know why I'm making this face right now. These are my annotations for Crooked Kingdom. There's a lot, especially towards the end. I wonder why. I love this book so much, and me saying this review right now makes me want to read it again. I just love everyone. The characters in this book and the whole Six of Crows series are so good, and you just see them grow like so much. You just fall in love with the characters, and I think that's the best part of this book is the characters. The plot is also extremely well written. This series will definitely be one of the best series that I have read this year. And after I finished the whole Grishaverse, I watched Shadow and Bone on Netflix, and it was like a reward for reading and suffering through all the pain that the books have caused me. For anyone that loves fantasy, this would definitely be one of the first books that I recommend. Like, my cousin is in 6th grade and I was like, you need to read Six of Crows. This is a spoiler, so if you haven't, I'll put like a sticker right here. Skip to this time if you don't want to like see the spoiler. On Instagram, I saw an edit, and the edit of the caption was I miss Matthias, and I was like, why would this person miss him? We know now, and I had a suspicion, but I was like, they would not kill him. Nina would be heartbroken, and then she did, and then Leigh Bardugo killed him. And I was reading this at 7 a.m. in the morning in my English class period, and I wanted to scream and throw the book across the room. The synopsis for Crooked Kingdom is basically a continuation of Six of Crows. It's again set in the Grishaverse. You have magical characters, magical people, magical things, and basically in this specific book, Kaz, I would consider the main character, is trying to save Inej, kind of. And then a bunch of other stuff happens. This book will break you. That's everything that I read in August and September. I will quickly list all of them in case you guys lost track. It was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, The Vanishing Half, Midnight Library, Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Rune and Rising, Crooked Kingdom, Fences, and A Doll's House. Oh, and Normal People. Those are all the books I read. I actually read a lot. I probably won't do a book review in October because I've only read one book, and that's Dune. Your video, if you guys want to follow me on Goodreads, I do not write good reviews. I kind of just write reviews so I can be reminded of how much I liked or disliked the book later on. But my profile will be linked in the description. And that's it for today's video. So if you guys liked the video, comment down below which book you're reading next, what book you are reading. I want to know because I'm interested. The genre that I read is mostly fantasy. I read a little bit of fan fiction. I read fantasy and a little bit of romance, not that much. I read mostly YA books, literally any YA book I will read. And any really good fantasy series I will also read. These are my physical copies of the books that I have read. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next Wednesday when I post a school vlog. See you guys later. Like and subscribe. Bye!